Hi, this is New Time on Silkway TV channel. We are back with our first broadcast of the year. As always, we introduce you with the most notable news and important events that happened throughout this week in Kazakhstan, Central Asia and around the globe. More details on politics, the economy, as well as social and cultural life, along with insights from some of the most prominent experts from Kazakhstan and around the world. I'm Nurbek Machani, and here is what's coming up today. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev gives an extensive interview to a local newspaper outlining key priorities, what's ahead of Kazakhstan's future. A dramatic turn in Latin America. After US forces seized Nicolas Maduro, Washington announced a new plan for Venezuela. What are the 3 steps that lie ahead for the country? A strong move on the chessboard. Kazakhstan's Bibisara Sobayeva climbs into the world's top 3 lists and prepares to make history as she heads to the Women's Candidates Tournament. At the start of 2026, President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev outlined Kazakhstan's key priorities for the year ahead: sustainable economic growth, curbing inflation, and advancing what he described as irreversible reforms. In a wide-ranging interview with Turkestan newspaper, the president said the country is entering a decisive phase of modernization. He also set out plans covering transport and logistics, artificial intelligence, energy, security, and constitutional change. Here is a closer look at what these announcements mean for Kazakhstan's development path and its role in the region.
In the recent interview, President Tokayev highlighted Kazakhstan's strong economic performance last year, noting that GDP has surpassed $300 billion and the economy grew by over 6%, record figures for both the country and the region. Yet he warned that growth alone is not enough. Inflation continues to erode household incomes, which are also strained by mortgages, children's education and family support, while structural imbalances in the economy persist. The president stressed that reforms in this sense are irreversible and called for a shift from quantitative growth to qualitative development, aiming to help Kazakhstan escape the so-called middle-income trap.
Если до этого, допустим, Казахстан достаточно активно развивался за счет развития сырьевого сектора, то здесь нужны уже
If until now Kazakhstan's growth relied heavily on the raw material sector, the country now needs industries with higher added value, more knowledge-intensive and technologically advanced. Here, strong institutions and the protection of property rights are crucial. A fair judiciary is also essential so that citizens and investors can trust that investing in the country is secure. Disputes should be resolved according to the law and justice, not arbitrarily or through telephone justice.
Споры возникнут, будут, по закону, по справедливости все это рассмотрено, а не там, как однобоко, телефонное право.
A major pillar of that transformation is transport and logistics. Despite being landlocked, Kazakhstan is positioning itself as a key transit hub at the crossroads of Eurasia. New railway corridors, highways, and logistics hubs are designed to strengthen links between China, Europe, the Middle East, and South Asia. According to President Tokayev, transport is no longer just infrastructure, it is the strategic backbone for economic diversification and regional influence.
I would like to highlight the importance of the new Dostok-Mointe railway line, which will increase cargo traffic between China and Europe along this route fivefold. Overall, we plan to build and modernize 5,000 kilometers and repair 11,000 kilometers of existing railways by 2030. The potential in this sector is significant. The issue is not about infrastructure. This is a fundamental hub where nearly all sectors of our economy intersect. This is why the government has been tasked with developing transport and logistics hubs with modern engineering and service infrastructure, modernizing and repairing seaports, airports, and railway stations, and creating an efficient digital ecosystem.
President Tokayev also elevated digitalization and artificial intelligence to the level of national strategy. In a world shaped by technological competition between major powers as China and the USA, Kazakhstan aims to secure its own digital sovereignty. The president described AI not as a trend but as a condition for long-term competitiveness and state resilience. The government is betting on data, fintech, and startup ecosystems, with Astana Hub already hosting thousands of IT companies.
На данный момент фокус на цифровизацию и искусственный интеллект позволяет нашему государству усиливать международный...
Currently, the focus on digitalization and artificial intelligence allows our country to strengthen its international positioning through tangible results. This is not just about digitalization government services or small-scale initiatives. It involves implementing AI across industry, finance, governance, and more. It's important to note that all these measures are part of a long-term consistent strategy. They are not just one-day figures. Established legal frameworks and human capital solutions create sustainable development and a solid foundation for digital growth. Today, our cases and startups, which are gaining positive recognition on the international market, are already enhancing Kazakhstan's investment appeal to foreign investors.
Усиливают инвестиционную привлекательность от иностранцев в нашу страну.
Energy security is another cornerstone of the new economic model. President Tokayev argued that without reliable power generation, Kazakhstan cannot support data centers, supercomputers, or advanced industry. Nuclear energy, he said, would not only close a historic gap, but also help train a new technological workforce. At the same time, rising global demand for rare earth and critical materials opens a strategic window for Kazakhstan in global supply chains.
Demand for critical minerals will grow over the next 5 years, doubling in scale. This creates a new window of opportunity for Kazakhstan. It is unique possible that the country will emerge as one of the global leaders in rare earth metal reserves. To strengthen its position in this strategically important sector, Kazakhstan has begun expanding cooperation with the United States, China, Russia, South Korea, Japan, and several European Union member states.
The president of Kazakhstan also said he is not seeking to mediate international disputes, but he does take part in close consultations where world leaders value his input. He describes the country's busy diplomatic calendar as a sign of Kazakhstan's growing global influence. At the same time, he made it clear he has no plans to return to the UN, despite interest from several countries. Linking domestic reforms to foreign policy, President Tokayev highlighted last year's $70 billion in investment agreements and Kazakhstan's role as a responsible international actor. Looking ahead, he called 2026 a turning point with a constitutional referendum set to reshape the nation's political landscape. Marjan Samigulina, New Time.
The OPEC Secretariat has published an updated schedule for compensating for oil overproduction for 8 OPEC Plus countries, including Kazakhstan. In January 2026, Kazakhstan's maximum allowable production will drop by 148,000 barrels per day compared with December, with further reductions continuing into February and remaining stable in March. The schedule applies to countries that have taken an additional production limits beyond their quotas, including Russia, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iraq, Kuwait, Algeria, and Oman. Since April 2025, these nations have been cutting output beyond their quotas in steps, aiming to keep the market balanced. As a result, experts predict that Kazakhstan and its OPEC Plus partners will continue their policy of monitoring and compensating overproduction. Throughout the first half of 2026, these countries are expected to strictly follow the schedule to balance the global oil market and offset previously excess production volumes.
В данном случае все внешние факторы, они очень играют на руку Казахстану. Если в целом посмотреть, конечно, кажется...
In this case, all external factors are actually playing in Kazakhstan's favor. Looking at the numbers, it may seem like a significant drop, about 25% below last year's peak production. But considering the export challenges on the CPC pipeline, this could turn out positively. Kazakhstan doesn't always meet its OPEC Plus quotas, but I hope that in the first quarter it will successfully fulfill its obligations.
Я надеюсь, что в этом смысле первый квартал Казахстан перед ОПЕК+ не будет стыдно за выполнение своих обязательств.
According to experts, in 2026, the energy market is set for significant volatility. Analysts warn that geopolitical events will play a decisive role, with statements and actions by key players, particularly United States, shaping market psychology. Prices will also hinge on how China and India navigate their purchase of Russian oil, while the total volume of oil in the market, including shadow or grey shipments, remain essentially unchanged. It is difficult to speak of overproduction as tanker capacity is limited and the So-called shadow fleet cannot simply move more oil without logistical constraints. This will naturally influence production level across all oil production nations, a process that is both slow and costly. Short-time price fluctuations are likely whenever major announcements make headlines. As the year begins, Central Asia saw a series of important developments, from major upgrades in energy infrastructure to new transport links and ambitious agricultural plans. Uzbekistan completed extensive power infrastructure improvements, while Tajikistan and Uzbekistan agreed to launch a multimodal corridor linking China and Europe. Meanwhile, Turkmenistan expanded gas production with new wells, and the first freight train of the year carried coal coke from China to eastern Uzbekistan. To help us break down these key stories shaping the region, we are joined by political analyst Vizir Chegirbayev.
Thank you, Nurbek. It's great to be here and share some insights into these developments across the Central Asia.
Likewise, Vizir. So let's get into it. What stood out to you the most in the region at the start of this year?
These updates highlight how interconnected and forward-looking Central Asia has become, especially in energy, transport and agriculture, with countries setting ambitious goals for infrastructure, logistics and food security. Throughout 2025, Uzbekistan completed extensive modernization of its power infrastructure, including 787 kilometers of main transmission lines. According to the Ministry of Energy of Uzbekistan, the work also covered 29,500 kilometers of distribution networks, 9 transformers at main substations, and 10,200 transformers units across the country. As part of ongoing modernization and reconstruction efforts, an additional 8,600 kilometers of power lines, 2,300 transformer units, and 28 substations were upgraded. These measures improved electricity supply for more than 800,000 households. Against the backdrop of these infrastructure improvements, electricity deliveries to consumers increased by 14% year-on-year, reaching 77.1 billion of kilowatt per hour. It's important to note that in recent years, almost all countries in the region have begun actively pursuing infrastructure modernization. This includes not only the construction of new roads and railways, but also upgrades to utility infrastructure. Such efforts are a logical response to challenges related to ensuring affordable and reliable energy supply, as well as to plans for developing the region's transport and logistics potential. Tajikistan and Uzbekistan have agreed to launch a multimodal transport corridor linking China and Europe. The heads of the transport authorities of the two countries approved a pilot project along the route China, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Iran, Turkey and Europe. As part of the initial test phase, 10 cargo trucks are expected to travel from Uzbekistan through Tajikistan to China. The shipments will be carried out using electronic transport permits. To increase border throughout, the two sides plan to modernize the Jartap-Sarzam border crossing. The project includes the establishment of a logistics center capable of landing up to 100 trucks per day, providing rapid registration procedures as well as medical and trade facilities. At the same time, the exact departure date of the first shipment and delivery timelines have not yet been specified. Nevertheless, the initiative underscores the ongoing efforts of countries in the region to expand their logistics capacity, develop new transport routes, and strengthen cross-border coordination through the new agreements. Other countries in the region are also setting ambitious goals for 2026. In Turkmenistan, as part of the first stage of development of the Galkanish gas field in the Mari Vilayat, production well number 110 was drilled to the depth of more than 4,000 meters, and testing revealed a commercial flow of natural gas with a daily output exceeding 2 million cubic meters. Meanwhile, a new inflow of natural gas was also recorded at the Tobarjuba field, which is a part of the Central Karakun gas field complex, where production well number 264 was drilled to the depth of more than 1,000 meters. The development of this site similarly yielded a commercial gas flow of approximately 300,000 cubic meters per day. Together, these exploration and development efforts are contributing to additional volumes of oil and natural gas being produced. According to the source, this represents a clear outcome of the consistent strengthening of the material and technical base of the fuel and energy sector, as well as the introduction of modern scientific achievements and innovative technologies into production of Turkmenistan. Another sign of early regional developments is the first freight train of the year set up for Uzbekistan from Wuwei in China's Gansu province at the start of the January. The train is carrying 1,300 tons of high-quality coal coke to the Argen, a city in eastern Uzbekistan, with a total value of $580,000. It will cross the China-Kazakhstan border at Khargos and is expected to reach public station in Uzbekistan in about 9 days. Thus, in addition to developing new directions and routes, the countries of the region are also actively making use of traditional transport corridors. Tajikistan is set to launch an ambitious grain sowing campaign in 2026, covering more than 274,000 hectares and focusing on food security. To achieve this, farmers are paying particular attention to fulfilling the instructions of President of Tajikistan, Mr. Emomali Rahmon, which aim to developing the agricultural sector, ensuring food security, efficiently using of water and land resources, and strictly observing agrotechnical requirements. Moreover, the cultivation of grain crops, primarily wheat, barley, and maize, is a key process for ensuring the country's food security. In particular, providing the population with wheat is considered one of the most important national priorities. Overall, the countries of the region are setting ambitious goals and planning to implement breakthrough projects across a wide range of economic sectors. That's all from me now. Nurbek, giving floor back to you.
Thank you, Ujit. Let's continue. The United States has presented a three-phase plan for Venezuela, outlining steps towards stabilizing the country, overseeing its recovery, and eventually managing a political transition. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced that strategy on Wednesday, after briefing U.S. senators, stressing that Washington's priority is to prevent further tension. "We don't want it to descend into chaos," Rubio said, referring to the Trump administration approach toward Venezuela. The plan comes amid heightened tensions following developments early this year when U.S. forces carried out an operation in Caracas that resulted in the capture of President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores. U.S. officials linked the operation to efforts to combat international drug trafficking, which they described as a threat to the U.S. national security. Recently, a federal court in New York announced drug-related charges against both Maduro and Flores. Following Maduro's removal, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was sworn as Venezuela's interim president.
Por mi hermano Jorge, por mis sobrinos, la tranquilidad económica y social de nuestro pueblo, y juro entonces sobre las bases de nuestro Padre Libertador en su discurso en Angostura.
The developments have sparked strong international reactions. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres noted that regardless of the situation in Venezuela, such events may set a concerning precedent and expressed concern of the possible lack of adherence to international legal norms. European leaders have also commented on the situation. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk warned that Europe risks losing its global standing if it remains weak and divided, emphasizing that unity is essential for the continent to be taken seriously by both allies and adversaries. He called on EU member states to strengthen collective defense efforts and maintain closer cooperation. In Latin America, positions remain divided. Argentina voiced support for U.S. actions, while Brazil, Chile, Mexico, and Colombia criticized the military intervention and urged a diplomatic approach to resolving the crisis. Russia, China, and several other countries described the developments as an act of aggression and called for the release of Nicolas Maduro.
Many experts of Latin America, of Venezuela, they say that one of the main problems that now Venezuela hasn't a leader who can accumulate power, accumulate political power around him, and try to manage this country. Nowadays, the main ruler is Delcy Rodriguez, but what she will do is really unclear because she is under enormous pressure from the United States, and it's unclear what's a struggle, what's a fight now is going on between political parties in Venezuela. So what I want to say in summary, I think Venezuela has a high risk of instability.
Bulgaria has become the 21st country to adopt the euro as its national currency. As of January 1st, the country officially abandoned the Bulgarian lev, which had been in circulation since late 19th century. With this move, only 6 European Union states now retain their national currencies: Sweden, Denmark, Hungary, Poland, Romania and the Czech Republic. Sofia formally launched the process of joining the Eurozone in 2018. Since 2020, the Bulgarian lev has been pegged to the euro under the exchange rate mechanism. In early June 2025, the European Commission approved Bulgaria's entry into the euro area, while the European Central Bank confirmed that the country's economy was sufficiently prepared for the transition. However, public opinion is divided. Some of them think they will not be affected by the currency change, while others are deeply concerned about rising prices without corresponding salary increases. Police have identified all 40 victims of the deadly bar fire in Switzerland's Crans-Montana. The tragedy occurred during the New Year celebration on January 1st, when a fire broke out at a popular club in the Swiss Alps. An additional 119 people were injured. The victims range in the age from 14 to 39, including 15 minors. Those affected included nationals of Switzerland, Italy, Romania, Turkey, Portugal, France and Belgium, as well as citizens of United Kingdom and Israel. A criminal investigation has been launched into a French couple who managed the Le Constellation bar. Preliminary findings suggest the fire may have been caused by sparkles attached to bottles held too close to the ceiling. In this regard, Kazakhstan Tokayev has extended his condolences to the President of Swiss Confederation, Guy Parmelin. The President of Kazakhstan conveyed words of sympathy to the families of the victims and the injured, and expressed solidarity with people of Switzerland during this difficult time. Kazakhstan's automotive industry is showing record growth. 2025 has become truly historic for domestic car manufacturing. According to national statistics, the industry reached its strongest monthly result, over 22,000 vehicles produced in a single month, with a total value of more than 300 billion tenge or over $60 million. Compared to November of the previous year, production increased by about 25%, highlighting the sector's confident forward momentum. In just 1 month, Kazakhstan's plants produced over 20,000 passenger cars, along with more than 800 trucks, around 600 buses, over 300 trailers and nearly 90 units of special purpose equipment. This growth was driven by expanded production capacity and the launch of mass production of international brands such as Chery, Chang'an and Haval, now manufactured locally in Kazakhstan. Today, the automotive industry makes up just over 4% of the entire mechanical engineering sector, firmly establishing itself as one of the fastest growing parts of the national economy. Over the first 11 months of 2025, the country produced more than 140,000 vehicles, worth just over 2 trillion tenge. This represents an increase of nearly 16% compared to the same period last year. The passenger car segment remains the main driver of growth. Beyond domestic demand, Kazakhstan's automotive industry is increasingly looking outward. Local manufacturers are strengthening their position in neighboring markets, expanding their presence across the region and building competitiveness beyond the national market.
Безусловно, техника, которая выпускается на казахстанских предприятиях, является, с одной стороны, очень конкурентный.
Vehicles produced at Kazakhstan's plants are highly competitive in neighboring markets. At the same time, thanks to rapidly expanding model range, local manufacturers are able to offer a wide variety of vehicles to consumers in Central Asia and in markets such as Russian Federation.
Номенклатуру для потребителей в других странах Центральной Азии или, например, в Российской Федерации.
Kazakhstan has emerged as a leading destination for investment in new projects in North and Central Asia in 2025. This is stated in the latest Asia-Pacific Trade and Investment Trends report published by the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. By the end of last year, Kazakhstan had attracted around $19 billion in greenfield investments, more than 2.5 times the level recorded in 2024. As a result, the country accounted for nearly 89% of all investment projects within the sub-region. The report highlights that North and Central Asia was the only sub-region in the Asia-Pacific to record growth in new investment volumes in 2025, despite the global slowdown, with Kazakhstan acting as the main driver of the increase. According to the UN assessment, the country attracted some of the region's largest projects, particularly in manufacturing, next-generation metallurgy, renewable energy and green technologies, reinforcing Kazakhstan's role as a key investment hub. The year has only just begun, yet Kazakhstan's chess scene has already made its move. The Blitz princess is edging close to the royal throne. Kazakh chess player Bibisara Saubayeva has improved her position in the FIDE Blitz rating following her victory at the World Blitz Championship. She climbed 5 places to reach 3rd in the world ranking. China's Yifan Hao remained the leader, with reigning world champion Wen Jungju holding 2nd place. The top 5 also includes Katerina Lagno and Alexandra Goryachkina. Yet ranking are only part of the story. This year, Bibisara Saubayeva will make history for Kazakhstan by competing in the Women's Candidates Tournament for the World Chess Crown. She secured her place after winning her 3rd career gold medal at the World Blitz Championship held in Qatar. She will become the first female chess player from Kazakhstan to challenge for the women's world title. The candidates tournament will take place from March 28th to April 16th in Peja, Cyprus.
The tournament will start soon. I have only 3 months to prepare. I'm the last one who qualified to this tournament. There only will be 8 players, and fun fact that 3 players will be from India, 2 players from Russia, 2 players from China and Kazakhstan. I started to prepare now. Also, I will have the strong round-robin tournament started 16 January in Vaikanze. It's tournament with long history and very strong. Firstly, I prepared to this tournament. Then I will start to having a lot of preparation to my candidates tournament.
Michelle Joseph, the winner of the Silkway Star project on our channel, has been awarded the Order of Polar Star. The state honor was presented by the President of Mongolia during a ceremony marking the 114th anniversary of the restoration of Mongolia's national independence. The artist said the award is a great source of inspiration and expressed pride in representing her country on the international stage, adding that the recognition motivates her to continue her creative work for the benefit of Mongolia. Let us remind you, Silkway Star is an international music competition that brings together participants from 12 countries. Over 10 episodes, contestants competed for the top prize. If you haven't seen the project yet, scan the QR code below and visit our YouTube channel. That's it for today. All the main news about Kazakhstan and Central Asia you can find here. More special projects about our country you can also watch on our Silkway TV channel. So stay tuned and see you next week.